As always, I'm going to start with my list. This is 1,500 points of World Eaters, and in my list I've got Angron, Khan the Betrayer, Master of Executions with the Berserker Glaive, which gives me +1 attack and +1 damage to all of my melee attacks. Got 10 Jackals with a Icon, Skull Smasher, and Mauler Blade. The other 7 are armed with Auto Pistols and Jackal Blades. The icon lets me reroll one of my blessings dice, which I do at the beginning of each battle round. All of the icons do that. So I've then got 10 berserkers that have 2 plasma pistols, 2 eviscerators, and 1 icon. The other 7 are with bolt pistols and berserker chain weapons. I've then got a unit of 5 berserkers with 1 plasma pistol, 1 eviscerator, 1 icon. Again, the rest have bolt pistols and chain blades. Got a Rhino with 2 combi bolters and a Havoc launcher. 1 unit of 3 8 bound with 1 with lacerators, 2 with eviscerators. I've then got 2 lots of 3 exalted 8 bound. They are both armed the same, so the leader has paired 8 bound chain fists, and the other 2 have a 8 bound chain fist as well as 8 bound eviscerators. My opponent also sent me their list this time round, so I'm going to share that with you now. They had 1 Angron, 2 lots of 10 Jackals, 2 lots of 5 Berserkers, 2 lots of 3 8 bound, 2 lots of 3 Exalted 8 bound, and 1 lot of 5 Terminators. The Berserkers were armed similarly to mine, Jackals were armed similarly to mine, same with the 8 bound and the Exalted, that's why I haven't bothered showing that on the screen. So, comparing our lists, they are kind of similar, except I went down the Berserker route instead of the Terminator route, and he obviously has a few more 8 bound than I had as well. Our primary mission was Terraform, which is to do an action on objective for 2 points. You do score those 2 points at the beginning of every command phase from then onwards, as soon as you've done the action on the objective. To do an action, you must be eligible to shoot, but that doesn't mean that you need to have a gun. Just means you're not allowed to advance or fall back in the turn that you are doing an action. So you would still be able to shoot had you had a gun, if that makes any sense. Also, if your unit is battle shocked, then you cannot do an action. If you declare that unit is doing an action, then that unit cannot shoot or charge that turn. What I did learn from this game is terraforming objectives is crucial to winning. You want to get it done as soon as possible, but without losing too many units, because you gain 2 extra points each turn you have an objective terraformed. You also cannot terraform your home objective, and an objective cannot be terraformed more than once. That includes if your opponent terraforms an objective, you then can't do it to take it back. So, as you saw from the lists, this was a mirror match. We were both using World Eaters and both using Angron. I was a bit nervous going into the game as I didn't know what to expect from a mirror match, as I don't usually enjoy them in most games such as Mortal Kombat or For Honor. I don't enjoy playing against the same character within those games, but this was definitely one of the most fun games I've played in a while. Anyway, I was attacker this match, and I also won the roll-off to go first. I had a unit of 3 8 bound in reserve. My unit of 10 berserkers and Khan were separate units, but both in the Rhino. And my opponent has 2 lots of exalted 8 bound in deep strike. With all that said and out the way, let's move on to turn 1. Turn 1, we both roll our Blessings of Khorne. I take +2 movement and a 6 up Feel No Pain on all of my units. Unless they already have a Feel No Pain, then it gets improved by 1, meaning my Exalted 8 Bound and Jackals now have a 5+ Feel No Pain. My opponent also chooses Feel No Pain. as well as fight on death on a 4+. So after one of their models die, the roll of dice on a 4+, it gets to fight, and then it is removed from the battlefield. I draw extend battle lines and sabotage. So I move Khan out of his rhino onto the center objective to score extend battle lines and to terraform the center objective. The unit of 10 berserkers also move out of the rhino, but they are moving straight up towards my opponent's 8 bound to try to get rid of those early. The rhino then moves off to the left to score sabotage on the left building in no man's land. The jackals stay where they are this turn, so they can stick in my home objective. The 8 bound moves straight up towards my opponent's berserkers. Angron moves to the right, ready to charge the exalted 8 bound. Then the Master of Executions with his berserkers just move forwards onto the objective in front of them. Looking back now, the Master of Execution and the berserkers should have terraformed the objective, but that was just complete misplay on my part. Shooting phase, nothing happened because what is shooting? The charge phase is where all the cool kids do their stuff. So the Exalted on the left moves straight into the Terminators, my Berserkers into the 8 bound, my 8 bound into his Berserkers, because that's not confusing at all. I also kept my 8 bound within 6 inches of my Berserkers, so they get the reroll failed to wound rolls of 1. Then finally, Angron charges into the Exalted 8 bound. My Exalted 8 bound kill 3 Terminators and damage the 4th due to some unlucky rolls. I only lost 1 wound in return. The 10 Berserkers take down 2 8 bound and leave the last on a single wound. He then kills a single Berserker in return. My 8 bound kill 4 Berserkers out of the 5, however a few of them got the fight on death, so I did lose 1 8 bound in return. Angron kills all 3 Exalted, but 2 fought back on death, dealing 1 wound to him after some incredible rolls on Feel No Pain. In my opponent's turn 1, they draw no prisoners and cull the Horde. No prisoners is ideal for this game. Cull the Horde is a little more difficult. He moves his jackals around towards my Exalted 8 bound, currently in combat with his Terminators. His other unit of 5 berserkers close in on my 8 bound, and he moves his jackals onto the home objective to give it sticky objectives. If you don't know what sticky objective means, it's when you keep hold of an objective without having to stay on it. Then what everyone has been waiting to hear, his Angron comes face to face with mine. His jackals charge into my Exalted 8 bound to back up his Terminators. His 5 berserkers charge into my now 2 8 bound. Then his Angron charges into mine. Luckily for you, he did his attacks with Angron first, as I had 2 command points, meaning I could interrupt combat. He uses his strike and absolutely pummels my Angron. He failed 1 wound roll, I saved 1, so 7 still go through. I fail every single Feel No Pain for him, and to top it all off, he didn't even explode. However, he does still have a chance to come back from my blessings, which I'll be rolling at the beginning of the next turn. I then interrupt combat with my 2 8 bound. They throw all their attacks at the full unit of 5 berserkers, managing to kill 3 of them. Between the fighting on death and the 1 berserker still alive, they kill both 8 bound. Over onto the final combat of the turn, the jackals and the terminators somehow didn't deal any damage to my Exalted, and they split their attacks, the leader with his chain fists into the terminators, and the other one with the eviscerators into the jackals. This kills 1 terminator and 6 jackals, so at the end of my opponent's turn, they score 4 points for no prisoners, for killing Angron, and for finishing off my 8 bound. It's turn 2, and I've now realised I did not take many pictures of my turn, so you're going to have to put up with my voice and this picture. But it's turn 2, it's time for blessings again. My opponent goes Feel No Pain and Fight on Death, same as last time, and I get no sixes. So no anger on this turn, but I do get Feel No Pain as well as lethal hits on my melee attacks. I hold 3 objectives at the moment, and I've terraformed 1, so score the maximum 15 on primary this turn. I draw my secondaries and end up getting containment, which I score by moving my rhino up to the left onto the objective, as well as now being 9 inches from the board edge to score containment. Then the Master of Executions moves to the right towards Angron with his berserkers, so I can score maximum on containment, as he is now 9 inches from the right side on the board edge. I also drew Mart for Death. My opponent chose his Jackals on the top right, his 1 Berserker left, and Angron. All I need to do is kill one of them, and I score 5 victory points on that secondary. So Khan moves up to charge the 2 Berserkers, as well as the chosen one, the Holy Mart for Death Berserker. And my group of now 8 Berserkers move up to fight the 10 Jackals. My Exalted 8 bound stay in combat, as what kind of blood-driven, crazy blood god worshipping maniac would fall back? Everything managed to make their charges, so Khan killed all of the Berserkers he was in combat with, scoring me Mart for Death, but he was taken down to just a single wound due to some of them fighting back on death. The Berserkers killed all 10 Jackals, but did take a wound due to them fighting back on death. And now back to the one that you all care about. Did the Master of Executions kill Angron? While the Master of Executions and his Berserkers gave it a valiant attempt, he was just too damn angry to die right now. However, this does leave him on 5 wounds, which is not too bad considering how strong Angron currently is. He then fights back, kills all of them with the exact amount of wounds needed. Feel No Pain could not save them this time. My Exalted 8 bound managed to finish off the remaining Jackals and single Terminator this turn as well, which left them open to do whatever they would like in the following turn. But due to fight on death, they did manage to take one of them with them. My opponent's turn 2, he got 2 points for terraforming an objective with Angron, kept Cull the Horde, and drew Defend Stronghold. Currently, I am holding his home objective, but he kept it as this turn he brought in both lots of Exalted 8 bound, one lot in my deployment zone and the other in his deployment zone near his home objective, so they can try and take it back. Shooting is for Filthy Loyalist Marines and Dirty Xenos, so we move straight into the charge phase. The Exalted, by his home objective, failed their charge even after a reroll, but his other Exalted went straight into my Jackals and absolutely massacred each and every one of them. He then consolidated onto my home objective, which scored them Cull the Horde, and now we are on to turn 3. So time to see if Angron wants to play again, and he doesn't, because he's being a lazy bastard. My opponent goes for Feel No Pain and Fight on Death, as I go for +2 movement and Feel No Pain. On primary, I score a maximum of 15, as I'm now holding 3 objectives and have terraformed 2. I draw Area Denial, which is no problem. I move Calm back onto the centre objective. I also score Bring It Down, which means the angry boy must die. But I'm not going to focus on that this turn, as I cannot reach him with anything. So my Exalted 8 bound in the top left advance to move towards my home objective, and I deep strike in my 3 Exalted 8 bound from reserves 9 inches away from Angron. So I now have a chance to charge him and kill him this turn. My 8 berserkers on my opponent's home objective move towards my opponent's exalted 8 bound that failed their charge, but I made sure there was still one of them within range of the objective marker. Shooting doesn't exist, so we are on to charging. My berserkers charge into his 8 bound, still making sure they are on the objective, but this does mean 2 of them now aren't in range to fight. Even with my reroll, the Exalted could not make it into combat with Angron, which I feel like I've seen somewhere before. So just the Berserkers fighting this turn, which they managed to take down 2 Exalted, leaving just 1 on a single wound, which seems to be a recurring theme in my videos, but here we are, nothing we can do about it. After fighting back, I lose 4 Berserkers, and that is the end of my turn. My opponent's turn 3, they score 10 points on primary, as they have 2 objectives and have terraformed 1. They still have Defend Stronghold, then draw Establish a Locus, which they score from the Exalted 8 bound being in my deployment zone, the Exalted in my opponent's deployment zone, stay in combat with the Berserkers. Angron rushes towards the centre objective, where Khan turns to face him, readies Gorechild, the weapon of his Primarch, ready for battle. Angron charges straight into Khan, kicking 3 shades of shit out of him. However, Khan is too angry to go down without giving Angron a fair whack himself, as he fights on death. I also spend 1 command point to give him +1 to wound against monsters and vehicles. He misses 2 hits and only wounds twice, but I spend another command point to reroll a dice, so I now wound 3 times. My opponent fails 2 saves, so 6 wounds go through. However, he still has a feel no pain to make. But the Blood God is watching over Khan, and he fails all his feel no pains, so they both die there on the centre objective. Angron and Khan. The most important part about this being Angron is now on Khan's kill count, which I did not expect from this game, but I am happy that it happened. My opponent spends 1 command point to stick the objective after Angron has died. Then the 8 bound kill 3 more Berserkers, leaving just 1 on a single wound up in the top right on my opponent's objective. It's turn 4 and we're now both rolling for Angron. I roll. Yet again no 6s. Not a single 6. Go for the old faithful, feel no pain and +2 movement. My opponent, triple 6, meaning his Angron has just died, then gone, nah, I'm good, put me in, coach. So go straight into strategic reserves. My opponent also takes a secret mission this turn. Putting that aside, I've pretty much accepted my Angron is not coming back, but only time will tell.
Ooh, is that foreshadowing or not? Ooh.
On my turn, I scored 12 points on primary for holding 2 objectives and terraforming 2 objectives. I draw no prisoners and overwhelming force, so I need to kill units and need to kill units on objectives, which is a perfect target for his Exalted 8 bound on my home objective, and if my lone berserker Terry can kill the 8 bound on my opponent's home objective, if I can do this, then his Angron also will not be able to come in next turn, as he would have had no more models on the battlefield, meaning I win. So Terry moves off his objective to charge the 8 bound, and both the Exalted groups move in to try take back my home objective. Terry does take a shot at my opponent's 8 bound, and he reminds me why I normally don't bother shooting. Both units of Exalted make their charges, and so does the Lonely Berserker Terry. My Exalted kill his, but they do fight back on death, which finishes off my unit of 2. The terrifying Terry fails to kill the 8-bound. Really, Terry? I've built you up and everything, gave you a name, and you couldn't cause 1 wound for me. The 8-bound then slices Terry into little pieces. Could have had all the fame, all the glory, but no. Could have been a demon prince if he tried hard enough, but here we are. What I haven't mentioned yet is I spent a command point after killing the Exalted 8-bound to roll my blessings again. This lets me gain 1 other blessing, but you can also use these dice to bring back Angron. So I roll them, and within these 8 dice, no 6s! No 6s at all to be seen, so I go for fight on death and prepare for what is to come. In my opponent's turn 4, they score 6 on primary for holding the centre with sticky objectives and terraforming 1 objective. They draw extend battle lines and still have defend stronghold. Angron comes in from reserves and charges straight into my Exalted on my home objective. Wipe out all 3 of them, but 2 of them do get to fight back on death, and they deal a few wounds to him, but not enough for him to be at risk of dying. Turn 5. This is my final chance to bring back Angron. We both roll. My opponent takes +2 move and feel no pain. I roll my 8 dice, all 8 of them. I look at them. I read them 1 by 1. I see a 5. I see another 5. I see another 5. I see a 6, followed by another 5. So no Angron for me. The rest of the rolls were 1, 2s, 3s. Nothing that's going to help me. So no Angron for the rest of this game. But my turn, I get 8 on primary for 1 objective, thanks to my Rhino that's still alive, on the objective that he's been sitting on all game, pretty much. And I also score 2 terraforms, which gives me the other 4 points. I draw engage on all fronts and storm hostile objective. I cannot score either of those, as for engage on all fronts, you need to be in different quarters of the battlefield. I have 1 model left, so that's impossible. Storm hostile objective, my Rhino cannot reach. So I redraw 1 of them and get established locus. So Rhino moves up into my opponent's deployment zone to score it for 4 points, and that is the end of the game for me. My opponent's turn 5, he scores 6 on primary because he maxed out with his secret mission, which was to get his Warlord on my home objective, which now he's done since he brought Angron back. His secondaries were Marked for Death and Bring It Down. He could not reach the Rhino to score these points, as it was too far away even for Angron. So that ends the game as 97 to 71. It was a close and fun game. If I had managed to get Angron back, then on my last turn I could have deep struck with Angron onto my opponent's objective, which in turn would have scored me my last 2 secondaries without having to re-roll them, and I would have maxed out my points. But unfortunately, Angron coming back isn't something you can rely on happening every game. Please let me know your thoughts on this battle report in the comments. This is the first league game out of 5, so we will see what happens next time. I'll be streaming Space Marine 2 over on Twitch tomorrow, so please do come say hi over there. There is a link to that in the description, as well as on my channel page. There is also a link to my opponent's YouTube page in the description. They are very friendly, so please go over there to support them after this video. My Instagram is where I post when I'm streaming, as well as when a new video is up. So please, if you do want to know as soon as something's going on, that is where to go. You can also send me messages on Instagram and I'll reply to you. Again, link in the description and on my channel page. I also might start a Discord channel soon as another way to contact me. But as always, thank you if you made it this far. It really helps, and I will see you next time.